Hello and welcome back to Reddit Recreations, your home for some chilled out vibes and a few fun Reddit stories. Today, coming from r/OffMyChest. Now we've just done a two-parter video of best of Redditor updates which came to this subreddit, so I thought I'd do a video off of this subreddit itself. The post comes from a deleted user and it's titled, "I'm letting my fiancé walk right into a trap and I'm not giving him any hints." Already sounds nice and juicy. I only ever read the titles, so I don't know what the content is, but that title's got me hooked. So grab yourself a cup of tea, have a sit down, and let's get into it. We've been together for over a decade, and he used to want to marry me, but then he changed his mind. He has different excuses for that depending on when I ask. Sometimes it's that he just doesn't see the point in marriage, and other times it's that he was totally going to ask me next month and now I've ruined the surprise. He's always known love and marriage is the most important thing to me. So the last time we thought about it, he said, "If it's so important to you, then it's important to me, and we can get married now." I was relieved because I'm desperate and happily started planning a simple elopement in New York City, but realised I'm doing this all alone and paying for it myself. He's just tagging along to humour me, I guess. So I asked him if he could be in charge of the wedding bands. That's it. Order wedding bands. I sent him some links for ideas and I reminded him once. The wedding is in 2 months and I know he hasn't thought about the rings since the last reminder because he never asked my ring size. So I'm acting normal and hoping he just measured my finger in my sleep or something, but I know he probably didn't. I still want to go on the trip as planned, but I'm waiting until we get there and it's time for wedding stuff, and if he doesn't have the rings, I'm dumping him on the spot and enjoying the trip by myself. I have 2 entirely different itineraries depending on whether he's there or not. Thanks for letting me shout that into the void. Well then. This is interesting. I wonder if there will be an update for this. Well, the user has been deleted, so I don't know. But marriage is something that should be for life, and if you're already feeling like this about your future husband, maybe getting married is not the best idea. If you're already at a point where we will either get married and spend the rest of our lives together, or we will break up and never be together again, based off of one thing he was going to do wrong. Definitely not the first thing he's done wrong. But if you get to the point where one final decision can make or break your entire life, I think you should take that decision out of the question. It sounds like you already have a lot of frustration built up towards this guy. If he gets the ring, and then you do get married, what, are you going to regret it a month later, a year later? I would normally say that sounds like there's just some miscommunication. He clearly doesn't understand how important this is to you, but you've clearly stated in the post that you have explained multiple times, so he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care. And if that's something that you can let go of and be okay with, then great. Get married. But if that's not something you can let go of, and that is something that's so important to you, then you need to act on that. You can't just... Oh, it's a big flip of a coin, isn't it? And the top comment comes from CoolCLY and says, "If he passes the test and brought the bands, do you truly feel like you'll be satisfied and that he'll be a committed partner going forward?" And OP responds saying, "Well, aside from the marriage thing, he's been a wonderful partner and my best friend. He's not entirely wrong in wondering what the point of marriage is after all this time. I can't even explain to you now why it's so important to me, it just is." And another reply to that says, "If it's so important to you and he knows it's so important and he still hasn't put any effort into making it so, when it wouldn't change much. As always, one must ask, what would you say to a friend that told you they were going through the same situation?" Interesting. I like that approach. I quite like that approach of when it's something about you, ask what would you say to a friend that was going through the same situation. Yeah, he should be showing more interest, absolutely, but if everything else is right in the world with this person, it might be a bit extreme before you just jump out of it. But then, if you are thinking of jumping out of it, jumping into it is also a terrible idea. I think the only real way to work on this and truly know what the right course of action is to do the exact thing that got them in this position in the first place and just delay the wedding. I think he was wrong all along, but now he's right. So he should definitely delay the wedding. He was totally going to ask you next month, and now he's ruined the surprise. I mean, I've been guilty of that before. That sort of, not to this level, but like leaving chores or leaving something around the house to do, and then my partner will start cleaning up, and then I was like, oh, I was just about to do that. I was like, no, you weren't. No, you weren't just about to do that. You were just about to do that because it's been brought up. So try and be better, husband. Then we've got another comment from Try It Love It 17. It says, I'm sorry, but this just screams he's not that into you vibes. He's gaslighting you and your feelings. When he feels you pulling away, he says what you want to hear, then makes no effort thereafter to follow through. Someone who truly wants to marry you would have done it long ago. My advice, get out while you can and find someone who actually values you and their life with you. I would say to that, not necessarily, well, actually he does sort of give, he's not that into you vibes if you put it in that sort of context, because you clearly stated that this is important to you and it's a very big thing for you, and he stated it's not for him. He says he doesn't see the point in marriage. I've always followed the rules that if it's important to someone else and it's not important to you, then you should make it important to you. If it's something that you are actively against, then there can be issues. Then you can discuss it, debate it, then you can maybe try and find a compromise or not do it, and there should hopefully be some sort of respect or understanding that you will not come to an agreement on this. Whereas if it's something that is important to someone else and you just don't really care about or don't see the point of it, then you should make it important to you because it's not going to affect me. So I think a good example of that is like, say for instance, I like to drink alcohol and you don't like to drink alcohol. That doesn't really make any difference. I can drink alcohol, you don't need to drink alcohol, that's completely fine. However, if you've had some bad experience with alcohol in the past and you are actively anti-alcohol, that's when an agreement needs to be made, a compromise needs to be found. You understand what I mean? I'm not going to stop drinking alcohol because you don't like alcohol, but if you are actively against alcohol, that's the point where we need to work on it. It's basically kind of like that, and it seems like he's not against it, so there's no compromise that needs to be made. I don't see the point in marriage. You desperately want to get married, and I love you, so, let's get married then. All I need to do is get the rings. And it does say someone who truly wants to marry you would have done it long ago. This guy doesn't truly want to marry you, but that's not like necessarily a negative because it's just his viewpoints on marriage. But he should want to make her happy if they do truly love each other. A marriage isn't the same to everyone. Marriage means different things to different people. Whatever your opinions are on marriage, I believe that's what marriage means. If you believe marriage is the truest form of love there is, on your wedding day, it will be the truest form of love that you will have experienced. If you think, meh, whatever, then getting married will be meh, whatever. If you're doing it for someone, then it will be a feeling of, this is for you, this is a show of my love, and therefore it will then be more involved with the love. I think a wedding is whatever it is perceived as. So I can understand their point of view. However, if she has clearly said to him that she wants to get married, I can't really understand why he's not made any moves towards that to make her happy, because she's been very clear about it. And OP responds to the "he's not that into you" comment. And OP responds saying, I know all of that. Until recently, I was really scared because I'm 40, I'm kind of chubby, not that pretty, have HSV, and can no longer have kids because he put it off too long. Who's going to want me now? But recently I've started thinking that maybe there's a small chance I could find someone, though I'll never get to have kids. But my chances are definitely zero as long as I'm still with him. Well, the more we're reading into this, the more it's seeming like OP has some real issues with their self-confidence, their self-image. They feel like, it almost seems like they're trapped in a way into this relationship. And then we've got another top comment from, I'm not reading out that name. After you all break up, he's going to marry someone else within 6 months, I guarantee it. Ain't that the truth? This is like big sort of story vibes of breaking up because he wants kids and you don't, and then 6 months later you have kids and he doesn't, and then you just meet each other with the kids and he's just like, what did we break up for then? Then OP replies to that saying, I know, and I know who it'll be. She's in his friend group, gorgeous, likes to party and drink like him, likes sports and snowboarding like him, and has had a crush on him for ages. She's really cool, so I don't blame her or anything. Girl, you already know the woman he's going to go after when you break up, and you're still with him and considering marrying him. This hurts to read. Why in the world would you just not leave him now? So off of the entire story right away, I already thought you should hold off on the wedding. Don't play these sort of games and just try and think, like, what do you want from this relationship? Are you getting that? She said that everything's great in the relationship other than this. So I thought maybe hold off and don't just make such a big decision off of a flip of a coin. But going into the comments, it seems like OP has some work to do on herself. It seems like you don't have the best image of yourself, and that could very well be affecting your decision making. Already having the woman lined up for him to move on with is a problem. You can't go ahead feeling the way you're feeling. We've said before, you believe if you do break up, you won't be able to find anyone else. He's going to move on very quickly to someone already in his friend group. I mean, if he's given you reasons to believe these things, you should definitely break up. Whereas if it's insecurity speaking that comes from within, you should still delay the wedding, because then you still have some work to do on yourself, and you shouldn't get married if you're not 100% sure about it. And it sounds like you are way less than 100% sure about this, OP. So I wish you all the best. I hope you make the right decision. In the perfect world, one final conversation with him would make him realise that he's been in the wrong, he hasn't been as supportive as he should have been and caring, and hopefully he can change those things. Because she does say, everything else is perfect, it's just this. But, as we all know, a lot of times we can miss imperfect things for people we're infatuated with. So that is where I'm going to leave it today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to put a comment down below. What do you think of this situation? What would you do in her position? What would you do in the guy's position? I always like to flip it and think of the other person's perspective. He'd probably just not put much thought into it. He's like, yeah, whatever, we'll get married, okay. Forgot about it. Then on the day, it's like, oh no, I forgot about the rings. Oh, she's gonna kill me. She doesn't kill you. She just leaves you. And then you're suddenly stuck there in New York, like, single. That would suck. Be a harsh lesson to learn, but a lesson that must be learned nonetheless. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because I do put out new Reddit videos every single day. And with that, I will see you again next time. Much smaller example, if you want to go play a game, and I think that is the worst game of all time. If you want to do for example, if you want to play a game, and I don't really like that game very much, but you really want to play it, we'll play it. But if that game has offended my family, but you still love it and I hate it, actually no, you should hate it, because you should back up my family. That's a bad example. Damn, it's hard to create an example. It's sucking toes. It's a pH of 7 for me. You grab yourself a cup of tea. I've got mine right here. Probably didn't sound very nice. Last time we thought about it, he said, if it's so important to you, then it's important to me and we can get married now. That's a bad voice. You should break up with this guy. He's got a terrible voice.